In the studios, I have been joined by the country's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Professor David Francis, and he's here to talk on the ministry's successes, what has been some of the challenges, and what are some of his plans, and in relationship to our, international partnership or relationship with other countries. Good morning, Prof, and welcome to Wake Up Leone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure that you could take your time to join us this morning. Thank you. How has it been, moving from State House, very close by, to the Foreign Affairs Ministry? Yes, indeed. Working as our Foreign Affairs Ministry. Have you been enjoying this job? I am instinctively an internationalist. I gravitate towards international issues. That has been my life in terms of my professional career, but also what I've been doing more recently. So it's always a pleasure to be in the foreign ministry. But you mentioned one thing, whether I've enjoyed the transition from my previous role as chief minister to now the country's foreign minister. Two things I can really say. Firstly, being at the State House, working very closely with the president and the presidency, gave me a very clear understanding of the nature of governance and governance delivery across the board. So that is important. As foreign minister, you must have the knowledge, the gravitas, and understanding of what happens across government. So I've been able to use that knowledge accumulated as chief minister for 3 years in my current role as foreign minister. So when I engage with some of my colleagues, they often say, how comes you are so vast in this area, in the security sector, in the defense, finance, agriculture, trade and tourism, etc., etc. That's the knowledge that I've brought. Secondly, my proximity to the president as chief minister and one of his senior advisors gave me a very clear understanding of the president's foreign policy posture and priorities. By the way, the foreign ministry is an extension of the presidency. So if you know the thinking and understanding and appreciation of the president's perspective on issues dealing with foreign affairs and international cooperation, then it makes it a lot easier. So I have been able to translate the president's vision on foreign affairs and international cooperation easily because I have worked with him for 3 years. Okay. So in terms of international issues, I know some of his perspective. He has shared that. So he gives the clear directive. I'm able to run with it. So being an internationalist, it makes it a lot easier for me. Coming in from the university in the UK, from Bradford University, and you served as chief minister. Was that the training ground for you to understand the governance system, politics, and like you mentioned, to understand better how to position Sierra Leone in the global stage? Being an academic has actually helped. Because the role of the foreign minister, and I dare say that of the chief minister, you must have breadth of knowledge. You must be able to grasp issues. When they explain things from different perspectives, you must have that ability to summarize and synthesize and present to your principal, that is the president, the policy relevant suggestions in a very summarized version. So yes, being an academic has helped a lot, but also I have been a policy practitioner as well. I have been senior advisor to the UN, to AU, to ECOWAS, doing most of the things that I'm actually now involved in as foreign minister and before as chief minister. So that created the background, the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, and in particular the focus on details, how to get things right, and in particular also the use of evidence, data, facts, to inform policy decisions and policy implementation. So that's actually helped. As chief minister, that was the foundation. Because when you're in this role, people expect you to know. If you don't know, everybody will know you don't know. So we should conclude that you are enjoying this job. 100%. Okay. 100%. When you took over in 2021, yes, your first press conference, you announced to journalists that you're moving to development diplomacy. That's your agenda. Yes, indeed. Development diplomacy, you explained it as to not depending too much on aid, but seeing how, representatives out there could bring development, FD, foreign direct development into the country. How much have you been able to achieve that since you took up this office?
Well, thank you very much that you have brought me back to that focus. You know, as a government, the focus of the new direction government under His Excellency Dr. Julius Maada Bio is to create a level playing field for everyone in the country. So that is why the president has focused on the human capital development agenda with a specific focus on free quality education. So that has translated today into 2.5 million children going to school for free out of the 7.8 million population. So the idea and the ideology of the president's new direction government is to create a ladder of opportunity. So it doesn't matter what part of the country you come from. It doesn't matter what political affiliation you have. With education, you can achieve the best. From education, you can walk with barefoot from Tihun to the State House. That is what the president wants to do. That's inspiration. Now, it doesn't matter your status, your economic status, your development status. So out of the human capital development agenda, the focus has now been in terms of putting Sierra Leone on the global stage. So let's focus on development diplomacy. Why is that so? Development diplomacy embraces economic diplomacy, focusing on trade and investment. Public diplomacy, focusing on aid and development. Military diplomacy, the whole range of other aspects of diplomacy. But our focus is on creating opportunities for everyone to transform Sierra Leone through the human capital development agenda and the focus on free quality education, that in the next 10 to 20 years, Sierra Leone will be in the middle income human development category. That is the idea, to transform Sierra Leone into a middle income country. And
a less dependent country. That's a country that depends so much on aid. That was what you were saying.
Thank you.
How much have we been able to achieve that? You know,
we have made progress. But let me give you the example of countries like India and Brazil. India and Brazil, when they started off, they were also aid dependent. But they transformed through investment in human capital, but at the same time, efficient political and economic management of their own resources and of the state. So today, India and Brazil are giving aid to countries like us and other parts of the world. So what we have done as a country is to focus on the foundation. Let's first build the foundation through credible human capital development agenda. With that, we can then begin to develop the expertise, the skills that we need in country to be able to run and manage our country first and foremost, and strategically manage our abundant mineral resources. But let me tell you, our problem in Sierra Leone has been one of poor leadership and the poverty mentality. We always believe that we have to look to other people to come and give us things. Sometimes we have them, and we don't even realize that we have them. So the agenda of President Bio is to make sure that we invest in human capital development, to train you and I to take that leadership, so that when we go out here, we can then manage the economy well, govern the country well. It's about efficient political and economic management. When we do that, Sierra Leone is not poor. We will not need aid. I am not saying that aid is not important. It's important, but it's a transition. No country has ever developed just by being dependent on aid.
What are the plans to transition from that with foreign direct investment? You know, the president has been accused of traveling a lot, and most times when he travels, you are with him. He has justified it to a very large extent that when he travels, is to either rebrand the country or get investment, you know, commitment from other partners. How much have we been able, you know, through your ministry to attract foreign direct investment, which possibly could reduce our dependency on aid?
Well, that is a very good question in terms of the specific focus on the ministry. As I said, the foreign ministry is an extension of the presidency. And what we've done in the foreign ministry is really to focus on the president's agenda to rebrand Sierra Leone. So that is one of the new direction foreign policy strategic priorities. No investor is going to come to a country that is ranked 47% in terms of corruption index. When we took over in April 2018, Sierra Leone was ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in the world, ranked 47%. So the president said, look, let us focus on putting Sierra Leone on the global stage. Let us rebrand Sierra Leone. Today, I can confidently say, according to Transparency International Index, Sierra Leone is ranked 81% in terms of the control of corruption. That has given confidence into investors. So that is why Sierra Leone is emerging now as the investors' destination of choice in the West African sub-region. And what I can confidently say, because Sierra Leone has managed two things: to control corruption, but secondly, to create the enabling environment for the ease of doing business through the establishment of the National Investment Board. So now we have a one-stop shop where all the investors come, they will do their financial concurrence, legal concurrence, programmatic concurrence in one place in a very short time. So that has given confidence in a lot of investors. So that's why they are coming now. Our role then, when we travel, is to do the following. One, to present Sierra Leone as the new El Dorado in terms of the frontiers for investment, where you can do two things. Do good, that means help the country, but also do well, make profit. And that's what investors want to hear. They want to be sure that when they do their investors, they do their investor dollar, it's protected and they can make profit. So whilst we are going ahead, I'm just coming back from Namibia and South Africa. In Namibia, we have engaged with the Namibian business community, and we've agreed to sign a joint commission for cooperation, and we're having a team of Namibian investors to come and invest in 6 key sectors, including agriculture, tourism, trade and investment, fisheries and marine resources. In South Africa, I engaged, and we've just signed visa waiver, and we are having a team from South Africa again to come into Sierra Leone, because they now believe Sierra Leone is peaceful, is secure, is safe, and it has a credible business environment. It has a pro-business friendly government. So those are the things that as a ministry we have been doing.
One of the things you mentioned, I can recall in that your first press conference was effective, representation by our foreign missions out of the country. How they could help in development, in your agenda, economic diplomacy as well. So far, how much can Sierra Leoneans be proud of their representative out of this country in terms of their contribution to foreign direct investments to this country?
But I'm very pleased to say that our missions, the 24 missions we have across the globe, we are a small country. We do not have the resources to have missions in everywhere. But we have missions in strategic areas. Of the 24, their role is really to promote the development diplomacy, in particular focusing on trade and investment. So what I have done is to engage with all our heads of mission. We've had, since being in office, we've had 2 retreats for all heads of mission, January of 2022 and January of 2023. The idea here is that to what extent we can support them, create a conducive environment for them to engage with investors. So constantly, our heads of mission are bringing trade and investment delegations in country. Some of them have been successful, some not so successful. But with this aspect, their role is trade promotion and facilitation, to work with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, but also with the National Investment Board. As foreign ministry, we create that conduit to make sure we show up confidence in investors, so that when they come into the country, we give them VIP treatment. So they know that they're coming to the most beautiful country, and not only that, they know that their investor dollar will be secure and they will make profit. But anyway, you mentioned the aspect of the president traveling. I want to address this, I think, once and for all.
Okay. On his behalf?
Not on his behalf, just as foreign minister, you can never change and transform a negative image of your country by sitting in your small kitchen. That is the poverty mentality we have in this country. Whoever told you that you can change your image by sitting in your corner? You have to be out here with all the big players to tell your own story. in your own words, on your own terms. You provide the evidence. Let me give you clear evidence. In 2018, President Biyo was invited by President Xi Jinping of the government of the People's Republic of China. During that meeting, I was then chief minister. The president made a specific request to his friend and colleague, the president of China, that he wants to transform the foreign ministry and he wanted to establish a foreign service academy. President Xi Jinping honored that. Today, on the 5th of January 2023, the president commissioned an ultra-modern, multi-million foreign service academy, the 11th in Africa, one of the best on the continent. Do you think President Biyo would have achieved that by sitting in State House? You see, I want to disabuse people. Anybody who says the president is traveling too much is one who suffers from poverty.
But these are citizens who might be concerned. This,
no,
like you mentioned,
it's not about concern. It's about the fact.
But Mr. Minister, can't citizens have concerns if they think their president is traveling a lot?
What is the purpose of the travel?
So that is your job to explain to the public.
So that's what I'm saying.
But it might not be their mentality. It might be just concern that they have because someone hasn't explained to them.
I agree with you. On that
score,
I agree with you. We have a responsibility, and I take we should have done more to explain some of this. I agree. But that's why I said I want to disabuse once and for all. So we settle this matter.
So it doesn't mean it's their poverty mentality. It's their concerns.
It is. If you have a problem.
But this is a poor country.
No, but if you have a problem, don't tell me you're going to sit in your small kitchen and shut all the doors. No, you go out and try. If you say you don't have food today, what do? Do you sit and rest on your hands, or you go out and find it? That's what the president has been doing. That's what the foreign ministry does. That's what the other key government agencies does. What we have not done, and I take that aspect, we have not communicated. This is the first time I'm coming here as foreign minister to explain the successes of the ministry. Yeah. No, I've been in this role only less than 2 years.
Ah, okay, so 2 years.
But before then, as chief minister, I made a determination. The role of the chief minister is to monitor, supervise, and organize ministries so that it takes the burden off the presidency. The role of the chief minister is not to come and give media interviews. So I made the determination. We have enough ministers at that time, 28 ministers to do that job. Okay. So I never came to AYV to do that because that was not my role. We have information, we have the other ministries to do that. As foreign minister, my role is the chief marketeer of the country, of the Republic of Sierra Leone. So that's what I've started doing, and I will do so effectively.
So the public should understand that this will continue. This will not just be
this engagement will continue.
Let's look at effective spending. In the New Direction Manifesto, you know, one of the promises by this government is to ensure value for money, you know, with our foreign missions, cut down on the number of people who are hired who don't provide value for money as well. What will you say to that? I suppose you've read the recent audit report. I don't know if you've read it.
Yes, I have.
And the allegations of you know, monies not being, you know, accounted for by our foreign mission, especially in New York and Washington, D.C. What will you say to that as minister?
But can you specify, because you are talking about audit reports that dates back to not our own period.
No, I'm talking about the audit, the very recent audit report of 2021 that was just released.
To the best of my knowledge, we have read that report. I can 100% give you the guarantee that most of the issues raised are issues either they have not been verified, they have not been properly engaged.
With the ministry?
With the ministry, because that's the point. When you make these issues, you have to come and verify. They were given even allegations of staff who have been on missions and have returned back to the country and are still receiving foreign salaries. To the best of my knowledge, when I saw that report, I directed the Director General to investigate it immediately. And there is no evidence of that. It's actually misrepresentation of the audit report.
Okay.
So that has been clarified.
On the ministry?
Yes. For me, as minister, I have a very clear understanding of the role of governance. It's about transparent, credible, accountable management of our resources, because we don't have enough. So the small that we have to make sure we manage it very, very well. So that matter has now been resolved, and I'm very confident that in the next audit report,
they will clarify that.
They will clarify.
Let me just read, you know, in a publication in the Aoko newspaper on the same audit report. It said there was no evidence submitted by the Foreign Affairs Ministry that the Director of Banking was informed about the double payment of DSA to staff, and no repayment plan was submitted to auditors. In 2019, an amount totaling over 470 billion yuans was withdrawn from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Impress accounts and paid as advance DSA to the staff of the ministry while awaiting the process of the payments by the Accountant General. This was in 2019, Mr. Minister.
Yes, I wasn't there at that time, but I will not. This is my ministry, so I will take responsibility. But that is actually not true, because when they engage now, they have said, no, that is not true, actually. They have provided the credible evidence in our own time to say, look, even though we were not in governance at during 2019, they have gone back to provide the evidence to substantiate that they have not actually verified and clarified the processes that were supposed to have been followed. So the people who have been involved, they actually tendered in their own apologies that they should have engaged. You know, in this business, it's a bit more like I come here, AYV. I look around and I make my own judgments based on the few people that I've interviewed. And I present it as a fact without actually talking to you as the presenter.
No, but audit report, they always go back to the ministry to clarify certain issues, because we've had the Deputy Auditor General clarifying that.
Yeah, but they did not do that.
On your own case?
Yes.
Okay.
They did not do that. I have been in this since April 2021. When these matters come up, they actually refer it to the best of my knowledge to the Minister and the Director General. And so far, we have not been given the benefit. That is one of the fundamental principles of natural justice. Okay. I give you the opportunity to have a say before you put it out in the public domain. Because now it's out in the public domain, it's presented as if we were consulted, our views were consulted, and that we have verified it. And that is not the case. And that is a fundamental breach of one of the fundamental principles of natural justice. I should not do that to you in my analogy. Well, they should not do that to us. But at any rate, I am here to talk about the successes.
Yes, you're coming to talk about this. You will definitely
we have made progress.
We're definitely coming to...
One of the things I want to really mention here is that since taking over the ministry, we have made sure that we put proper structures and processes to effectively manage the ministry. How is that so? You know, the foreign ministry is the window to the world. Most people, when they come, before they even go to State House, they want to see the foreign ministry. And what I've done is to transform the physical outlook of the foreign ministry. You were in the ministry some time ago. You've seen the physical transformation of the ministry so that it looks the part. So that when you come here, you know this is a respectable country of standing as you see the foreign ministry before you even go to State House. So that is one. Secondly, we've invested in staff training and capacity building, whereby we give scholarships to our staff to go for further studies, but also short-term training program. Because when you have the foreign ministry that is resourced with outstanding, competent staff who are able to do the job, then be rest assured you can deliver. That is the second aspect. The third aspect is actually putting together systems and processes. Before then, we did not have a viable strategic planning document. We did not have a manual on the appointment of honorary consuls. We did not have diplomatic list, etc. These are just mundane things that every ministry in the world that is respectable and credible. So we've invested a lot into all of these things.
Okay.
And we are currently working on one important development. Now we've done the Foreign Service Academy. We have now moved to legislating the first ever Foreign Service Act to govern the conduct of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our career diplomats.
Okay.
You know, in this country, where we send career diplomats, we don't have a proper Foreign Service Act to regulate them. They have to rely on the Civil Service Codes, Rules and Regulation of 2011. That in itself, some sections of it are really outdated. We are also working on the conditions of service of our diplomatic staff, because when you send people out, you have to make sure you resource them, you provide for them in a timely fashion. So these are some of the governance and institutional transformation we've done to make the foreign ministry fit for purpose, to address the challenges that you are talking about.
As you mentioned that, I want to draw your attention. I know, I'll assume you read the papers, you follow the news. There was an article in the Global Times newspaper, a story in the Global Times newspaper very recently, an article, I could say, on easy calm at foreign ministry.
And did you read the rejoinder?
No, I didn't read it.
Then don't ask that question. No, please, no. No, let me make this point.
Let me make this point. No, I'm asking let me make this point. Let me ask the question, Mr. Minister.
Let me make this point.
No, I didn't read the rejoinder in the Global Times newspaper.
No, what I want you to do as a credible journalist.
No, Mr. Minister.
As a credible journalist.
Mr. Minister.
As a credible journalist, when you refer to something, there has been a rejoinder.
If you could allow me, let me just ask you.
With all due respect, I will.
With all due respect, sir, you have the platform to clarify whatever allegations has been made. I'm just drawing your attention to an allegation that was made against you in a newspaper against the ministry. I'm drawing your attention to it. You have the platform now to clarify to the public to understand. That is what I'm trying to do, please, sir. And in one of the in the final paragraph of it, it says, officers have been due for postings, but the leadership of the ministry has kept sealed lips about it. But instead, they continue to post those who are not supposed to, and those that they favor. There's been this allegation. I suppose you've read it, and you said there've been a rejoinder. What's your reaction to that?
I am a bit disappointed. As a credible journalist, you read newspapers every day. The day that came out, the next day, there was a rejoinder, and it was circulated everywhere to clarify all of these issues. So I was expecting, you will say in one vein, Mr. Minister, this was what was out in that newspaper, but I also read the rejoinder. Clarifying. Let me finish.
I didn't read the rejoinder, sir. I'm asking you the question now based on what I read,
Let me finish.
Sir.
As a credible journalist, that's what you should have done.
Mr. Minister,
now let me clarify.
Mr. Minister, this was a front page article.
And the rejoinder was a front page article.
It wasn't. I haven't seen it. I read the papers every day.
By News 24, it was
there. News 24 is not Global Times. I'm referring to Global Times newspaper.
I agree.
No, News 24 is not Global Times.
But that was the rejoinder from Global Times.
No. News 24 and Global Times newspaper are two different newspapers.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying.
What I just read is in the Global Times newspaper. The Global Times didn't do a rejoinder. Go ahead and clarify.
I like the statement you said. Postings have not been done. Postings are done in March 2023. That's when we start the process. In the rejoinder, we made it very clear. This is somebody who wants to make enough noise to build sympathy for posting. Posting starts, the process starts in 2023. So why is this person, if this is a sincere, credible, competent, professional person, why would this person not wait until the process has started in March next month, this month actually, 2023, until the process completes in April? And if this person is not appointed, then that person has legitimate, very legitimate views to raise. But they have not started, they have not even done that. This was done February. So that tells you this is ill-motivated. That is one. Secondly, postings are done on the recommendations of the Director General, and which I take to the President for approval. So there's a process to it. That's the established process. Recommendation based on our own internal verifiable criteria of professionalism, of competence, of also the entitlement. What we have now realized, some of these people who are making this request are people who were posted recently. They just came back from posting. And they feel they have a right and entitlement. They don't know that there are other people who are also supposed to have been posted. But they see them, it's their right. They just came back from posting 2 years ago. and they want to go back to posting. And that is not how we operate. We have a process. We have a long list of people. So that's the other aspect. The most important aspect of posting also is the funding. We are a small country. The finance minister has just told us that they don't have money for posting, that let's manage the posting processes properly. Until we get that clarification from the finance ministry, we are not going to do postings at all. So that is the context. And finally, you said postings are done. Yes, postings are done, but these are internal postings from one mission to another. This is what is called cross-posting on medical grounds. Cross-posting on medical grounds, this is normal. And in fact, there was a particular issue that was referred to. There was posting in New York. It was a short-term specific posting to go and do a specific work based on recommendation of a team that went to New York for our Chancery building. You know the problem about our Chancery building?
Yeah, the matter that is in court.
That is in court in New York. And the idea here is that let's do it and get it right. So the team that went there involved the Foreign Ministry, the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, the Ministry of Public Works, and they made a determination that to progress this matter and also to address the legal process that we are faced with as a country, we need to get a procurement officer on a short-term basis for three months. And that's what we did. We secured the approval of the Ministry of Finance. Don't forget, we don't have accountants in foreign. They are actually posted to the Foreign Ministry, just like information attaches from the Ministry of Information. The procurement and finance officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are from the Finance Ministry. So we cannot post without their approval. So we secured the approval of the Ministry of Finance. They said, yes, this is specific, short-term posting. This person should go. So it's not a new recruitment. So I've clarified the issue of cross-posting, which is normal, short posting, specific to do this work, and then it's over and done with, and they return back.
Finally, before we move to another matter, I want to ask you, you spoke earlier about building human capital development, building a workforce. You are the third minister, I suppose, in that ministry under this administration. Do you think we have the human resource, in that ministry to man the affairs of it?
I'm very pleased you raised that. It's one of the most important ministries for every country in the world. But what we inherited was an over-bloated ministry. I can confidently say I inherited really outstanding expertise, staff, but only a small group of them who, first and foremost, they know the issues. Secondly, they know they are brief and they can write well. And thirdly, they are professional and competent. But it's only a small group of people. So what we are trying to do now, we inherited that. So what do? So we invested in the training. So we provided training opportunities for most of those that we've identified, especially the middle level, to make sure that there's that upward mobility for them. They've gone for training in Egypt, in Hungary, in Turkey, in India, and of course, before the COVID, in China, but now with China, the end of COVID, we're sending them to China as well. What we are trying to do is to build a critical mass of competent, professional, disciplined, nimble, agile foreign ministry staff. For the foreign ministry, the president has said, you have to get the best. So that's what we are trying to do.
And your relationship with people who work at the ministry?
Oh, I don't take hostages. If you are incompetent, you are not supposed to be in the foreign ministry.
And you say it to them?
100%. Because that is how it should be. Don't tell me you sit here, the camera people are not efficient, are not professional, they are incompetent. Don't tell me that you are going to keep them behind the camera. No, you will recommend to management. What I have done, two things. Firstly, when I came to the ministry, I said the driver, the security, the secretary, they are as important as the minister. And I said, again, what I want is for you to do your job. You don't have to like the minister. And I said, in fact, I make it a point, don't like the minister, but do your job. That way, I can defend you as long as you are doing your job professionally, competently. But you know, in Sierra Leone, when you do the right thing and you have professionalism, integrity, and competence and assertiveness, people don't like that. This is our country. This is, you know, you're Sierra Leone, you know that.
Of course.
And that's how I survived 3 years in State House. I survived 3 years in State House as Chief Minister, and I left with a clean record. So I've come with the same governance delivery mentality. It's about assertive leadership. It's about knowledge of the issues. It's about capacitating people. I cannot do it alone. So I invest in the people to work with me.
I suppose you want to leave the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with that same clean record from State House that you just mentioned.
Yes,
One final clarification I want from you is in that article is that the Director General is accused of always traveling with you, not in a post to do a walk. And how do you supervise that?
Well, you see, this is again our people. I mean, I would really encourage you that you read the rejoinder. All of these have been clarified. For one simple reason.
You should get Global Times to publish it because they actually did the publication.
But there are issues around that. I've been in Sierra Leone. I've been in Sierra Leone. The same Global Times have been putting out scurrilous issues, and they asked me to go and talk to the editor to reach an agreement. I don't do those type of things. It's not in my integrity and credibility to do those things. I don't try to promote those type of journalism. I don't do that. But to clarify, it is the responsibility of the Director General to accompany on some of these statutory functions. That is the established rule. This same character, this insider or the group who said that the Director General is not there, they did not comment when the previous Director General traveled with me in the same function. They never commented. That is Mr. Prince Cole, who is now the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health. They never commented. The late former Director General, Ambassador at Large, Madam Florence Bangali, they never commented. She has been here in this role. She has been, I think, about 3 key roles, 3 key travels she's performed with me in terms of her statutory function. And now they are commenting. So do you tell me, is that credible? That's disingenuous. This is wanting to make... Look, let me tell you one thing. You're a journalist. When people want to make you look bad, they make up stories about you. They will even say, some of them will say, you were not on the seats today.
So people are trying to make you look bad?
I am a public figure. When you sign up to holding these roles, be rest assured that's what people will do. There are some people, let me tell you, even when Professor David Francis walked on water, they will not say, wow, it's a miracle. They will say, oh, he doesn't know how to swim.
Okay. Let's move to one of the biggest, programs at the ministry, if I could say, which is, the country's bid for a seat at the United Nations Security Council for 2024-2025. You've been championing that. How important is that to this country?
Well, thank you very much. That is what I really came to talk about.
Yeah, there are a lot of issues we should talk about.
So next time we could break it into 2. Today, Sierra Leone is going back to the United Nations Security Council in the non-permanent category for 2024-2025. This is a significant moment for Sierra Leone because the last time Sierra Leone was in the UN Security Council was in 1970-71, 50 years ago. So Sierra Leone is going back to the Security Council. And here I want to thank the leadership of His Excellency, President Julius Maada Bio, who has said one way of rebranding Sierra Leone is to put Sierra Leone into some of these key global governance institutions so that Sierra Leone is part of that group of countries that make the decision around global peace and security. So this is significant for us. The elections for the UN Security Council non-permanent category is scheduled for the 6th of June. Okay. And on the 7th of June, Sierra Leone, because Sierra Leone is the African Union endorsed candidate, we are representing the ECOWAS region. So we'll be there. Sierra Leone will be in that room with the elected members, that is the elected 10, and the permanent members, United States, Russia, China, France, and United Kingdom. Sierra Leone will be in that room where all the decisions about global peace and security are made. So Sierra Leone is firmly on the global stage.
Is this about representation, or it has other benefits, economic or developmental benefits to the nation?
I'm happy you mentioned that. It's not just about representation. You know, when you're on the global stage, for the first time, they treat Sierra Leone as a country of standing, a credible country of standing. And when you have that, Sierra Leone is courted by the global governance institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, the international financial institutions. All of them want to do business with this small country that is in the UN Security Council. Because in the UN Security Council...
So it's more about exposure.
Exposure, but not only global exposure. When you are there, you do two things. You leverage that exposure. How do you leverage it? You use it for economic diplomacy. You use it for commercial diplomacy. You use it for trade and investment. All the countries that have been more recently in the UN Security Council, Kenya, and more recently Ghana, they have all said it has brought significant financial and economic and in particular development benefits for the country whilst they are there. So we are going to do that. So we leverage. The second aspect, we amplify our voice. That amplification is small. Don't forget, Sierra Leone is a small country. When you're a small country, what do? You have to find opportunities of punching above your weight. So I brought to you, here we have, this is our vision statement for the UN Security Council. And of the 7 strategic priorities, one of which is we want to go to the UN Security Council during our tenure to promote the reform of the United Nations Security Council.
Which is one of the responsibilities of the President as chairman of the Committee of 10,
Thank you.
the C10.
Thank you. But let me elaborate if I can. Sierra Leone is privileged to be the only country in Africa today that chairs 2 African Union mandated committees. One is the committee you refer to, the C10. The C10 is simply the African Union Committee of 10 heads of state and government for the reform of the Security Council. So Sierra Leone, and in particular President Bio, is the chair and coordinator of that. So Sierra Leone has a continental responsibility leading the reform of this world body, the UN Security Council. That is one. The second is, today, President Bio is the chairperson for the African Union peer review mechanism that deals with governance, human rights, etc. So this is also a huge responsibility for Sierra Leone. So here you have this small country on the continental stage, given this type of responsibilities to work for and on behalf of the continent of Africa. This is good for Sierra Leone, because then when they know that Sierra Leone is a credible country, it's a country of standing, then it's able to occupy the space whereby you can engage with international financial institutions, IMF, World Bank, the African Development Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the BRICS Bank, etc., but also and convert and leverage that for financial, trade and investment opportunities in the country. Because when they know that you are in the Security Council, they are all happy to come to your country.
And I must commend that you've done a great of branding work with this bid. You know, the quality of the work done, the graphics work, and the publicity around it. It has been visible. A lot of Sierra Leoneans perhaps are aware about it. I could say you send promotional materials here as well at AYV, and we've been able to use them. But I want to ask, how much is this costing us? We are campaigning for this. How much is it costing us?
Well, I can say diplomacy is never cheap. But we are operating diplomacy on the shoestring. But it takes the gravitas, the credibility of the president, and I dare say the foreign minister. And we have been able to engage with our allies. What I did was to take this to cabinet for cabinet approval and endorsement because of some of the resources needed. And cabinet has approved a small amount that we are able to use.
That could be around how much?
It's a small amount. There are certain amounts you must take it to cabinet.
Yeah, this is the public money. The public needs to know.
It's right around $1 million.
$1 million.
Yes, indeed. But what we've done is that We have also, but it's not given at a go. It's given in installments. What we've done is to engage with our partners. Say, for example, all of this, the pop-up banner, so I will make sure that I bring another pop-up banner for you to
we have it. It's in our boardroom. So.
I see boardroom, okay. Not in the... This is national interest,
well,
though.
That's promotional as well. You'll have to meet with the marketing team of
I will meet with the marketing team.
Because you've got one... is it 1 million?
That is from the government, assigned. It's assigned, it's not giving.
So that is what I'm saying. Perhaps AYV could benefit from it.
Okay, so the point I'm making is that we have gone a long way to engage with our partners. So all the promotional materials have been done by our partners, and it's expensive. It's 3 or 4 times even more than what government has been able to do. That's one. Secondly, the shot to diplomacy. Shot to diplomacy simply means to go and talk to people. A lot of people did not know how we managed to get this to UN Security Council. We went to the ECOWAS foreign ministers, and we were told that despite the fact that Sierra Leone has put in the request as the only candidate, that Nigeria has also put in a request. You and I know you don't go against Nigeria. Nigeria is the big brother of the region. But in my wisdom, I said, no. We have a moral case to present to Nigeria, that we have supported Nigeria 5 times, and more recently, in 2010, we had to stand down for Nigeria so that they can go to the Security Council. So I said Nigeria will show magnanimity to Sierra Leone. But it took the astute leadership of President Bio. We had shot to diplomacies to visit the Nigerian president, who gave his blessing. He said Nigeria will stand down on behalf of Sierra Leone because of the case President Bio presented. So it's not just going to Nigeria and securing that confirmation. Having done that, you have to have 2/3 of the seats. That's 97 votes. We have to make sure that we get all the other regional bodies. So we have been doing short to diplomacy. And short to diplomacy is not cheap. Just flying to and back using commercial airlines, using hiring private jets is very, very expensive. So we've been able to
What's the assurance? Are you sure and have the confidence that we're going to get this?
No, definitely we will. So, but let me make this point about short to diplomacy, about the cost implications. See, to get to the international level, it's never cheap. It's never cheap. But we have been fortunate that some of our partners understand that Sierra Leone today is a credible country. Sierra Leone today is on the global platform. Sierra Leone today is on the continental platform. Sierra Leone today, the president is co-chair together with the UN Secretary General for the Transforming Education Program. So they want to support us, so they're happy to support us providing some resources. And those resources are transparently managed as well. But now the point you made, we are confident. Sierra Leone is the African Union endorsed candidate. So it means it's a clean slate. We are assured of getting it. We are assured of getting the 97 2/3 votes. But I am never confident with, I'm never happy with that. The president has said we should not rest on our laurels. So that's why we are still going out. We want to make sure that we reach the ceiling of between 175 to 185 member states that will vote for us.
Okay.
And so far, we have made tremendous progress. And I want to commend our PR, permanent representative and ambassador in New York, but also in the other multilateral stations in Abuja, in Geneva, in Nairobi. These are all heads of mission that have worked together to produce it. So it's a collective effort. So they continue to mobilize and campaign for election, because the election is scheduled for the 6th of June.
And you're just coming back from the southern part of Africa. And, you know, one of my friends shared your tweets about the agreements with the South African foreign minister. He's one guy who always travels to Ghana to get visa to go to South Africa, and he holds a service passport. He's happy about this. How have we been able to achieve this?
Well, I have to say that foreign policy, or the conduct of foreign policy, is about the ordinary people of Sierra Leone. So what we do is to make sure that we create benefits and opportunities for the people of Sierra Leone. And I'm very pleased that you've mentioned that example of your friend. So through that process, we have engaged. We know that South Africa and South African businesses want to come to Sierra Leone. But we also know that Sierra Leoneans go to South Africa on trade and investment, on education, on health, tourism. But they have a lot of issues around visa. So we said, what better way than to engage? So I engaged with the Minister of Foreign Affairs through their High Commission in Accra, but also I engaged with the Minister of Home Affairs. And we agreed that this is one way to go. So that's why I was invited to go and sign this visa waiver. So at least for now, we are starting with holders of diplomatic and service passport, and then we can expand it to ordinary Sierra Leonean. So it's the next phase. So it reduces the burden on Sierra Leoneans. So you don't have to go again to Accra to pay for air ticket, hotel, and time. Now, it's visa waiver, visa on arrival. You arrive and you secure your visa. I think it will transform the life of most Sierra Leoneans who travel to South Africa. This is the tangible benefits of what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs does for the people of Sierra Leone.
One other thing I want to bring to your attention is a few days ago we had some guys who were following us on Facebook. They mentioned about issues in Tunisia. And one area that has been a challenge for Sierra Leoneans or Africans generally is perhaps the Middle East or Arab countries. How much, I can recall the last time the president went to Lebanon and helped in facilitating the, the return of some Sierra Leoneans. How much do you engage, in looking after the well-being of citizens who go to these places?
Well, I'm very pleased that you raised that, because this is also about what foreign policy and international affairs is all about, to cater for the interests of your people, not only in the country, but out of the country as well. And in this case, one of the foreign policy priorities of the new direction government is to cater for the interests of Sierra Leoneans abroad. So in this particular case of the Temple Run challenges to using the springboard of the desert, the North Africa, and then to Europe, I have given a very clear instruction to all our missions in that region, from Egypt to Morocco, to closely monitor all what is happening. In this particular case, the ambassador responsible, who has accreditation jurisdiction for Tunisia, but resident in Cairo, Egypt, is on top of it. He's engaged with all the Sierra Leoneans who have been caught in this situation, with a view of, first and foremost, protecting lives and their properties, but also to finding a way of bringing them back through IMO. This is what we do as a country. We protect through our missions. So they are working very well. In fact, they sent a briefing to me, because I asked for, when these things happen, I always ask for immediate briefing, but also day-to-day briefing, to make sure that, because by the end of the day, what happens to one Sierra Leonean affects to every Sierra Leonean, affects every Sierra Leonean, because this is about us as a people. So I'm very pleased with the immediate response of our ambassador residents in Cairo, but accreditation jurisdiction in Tunisia. And by the way, it's not just that area, but also in some other areas as well. We've been having problems in Turkey as well.
Yeah, indeed.
And the ambassador in Turkey also has been very responsive in terms of responding to the interest. But we want to make a statement, and I want to use this as an opportunity to appeal to Sierra Leoneans. Why do you want to risk your life when you can actually make it here? That's why we are investing in human capital development. Not everybody can go to university, but we are also investing in technical and vocational training institutes to develop that capacity. Through that, with the development of their capacity and skills development, with the attraction of foreign direct investment, we can then create job opportunity for the young people. Because really, by the end of the day, the future belongs to the young people. We have to invest in that area through education, skills development, job creation, and job opportunities. And one of the things that we are doing as a government is not just focus on the university free quality, but technical and vocational, focusing on on-the-job training, combining classroom education and on-the-job training, so that people can, through that process, even before they leave the Technical and Vocational Institute training program, they have the entrepreneurial mindset to create jobs for themselves and for others.
I suppose you've got a very busy week, with the MCC CEO visiting, the Deputy Commonwealth Secretary as well. What does this mean for the country at this time?
These are exciting times. The fact that in the run-up to election, scheduled for the 24th of June 2023, we have key players, important actors in the world are visiting Sierra Leone. That tells you that Sierra Leone is on the right path. That tells you that President Bio has emerged as a continental leader. That tells you that Sierra Leone is a place that is safe, secure, but also they are assured that come 24th of June 2023, Sierra Leone will hold a free, fair, credible, transparent, democratic election that will further cement the democratic credentials of this country and of the president.
I can recall in DC when we met, you know, you clearly said you believe it's the international community should not be dictating to this country about what we do or how we go about conducting ourselves, especially with our elections. There's been this talk about, you know, foreign missions' involvement in our elections, in our processes and all. One of the commissioners at the ECSL is on record of accusing the EU ambassador. As foreign minister, what do you make of those claims or statements of foreign missions' involvement in our electoral process?
Well, what I can say is that I am yet to see the facts, the evidence, the data of those specific allegations. As foreign minister, I have a very good working relationship with our diplomatic community here. When there are issues, I invite them for consultation, or sometimes I summon them, depending on the gravity of the issue. But so far, in this case, I am yet to see any evidence of specific allegation of interference. By the way, one of the fundamental principles of international society is about sovereign equality. We are all equal. It doesn't matter how big you are or small. We are all equal. Secondly, respect for territorial integrity. And thirdly, non-interference in the domestic affairs. All our diplomatic missions, the heads of mission know that they are not supposed to. Let me give you a typical example. In the United Kingdom, they have had a series of changes of prime ministers. Did you hear our High Commissioner comment on that?
No.
No, because he knows it's not his responsibility. In America, January 6th, and the violence in Congress, did you hear our ambassador in Washington comment on that? This is not their responsibility. The Vienna Convention is very clear about these things, what you should do and what you should not do. So when anyone does that with a clear, verifiable evidence, then that head of mission will be summoned with a clear message. You know the established protocols and rules and convention. You should not be engaging in this. If you do that, we will take it to the next level.
Finally, what's your hopes for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
My hope for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to support the president's agenda to rebrand Sierra Leone as a credible country of standing. So when the president is on the stage, you see that this is a president with a swagger. When the foreign minister is on the stage, you see the foreign minister. This is a foreign minister with a swagger. You see him, you know Sierra Leone is coming. That is the respect. Why is that important? You know, when you have a very negative image about the country, a lot of Sierra Leoneans don't know. When you travel and then you come to a border crossing in Europe or any part of the world with a Sierra Leonean passport, you show that Sierra Leonean passport. The immigration officer will look at your passport and think about all the negative images of that country, and they will tell you to sit down on the corner and wait. But when they see your passport and they see that Sierra Leone is a liberal, progressive country, and all the successes of what the country is doing, consolidating democracy, abolishing death penalty, repeal of the criminal libel law, spending 22% of the GDP on free quality education and human capital development, presenting Sierra Leone as the most beautiful country in the world. That's why that immigration officer, when they see your passport, they will let you through easily.
Thank you very much.
That is our vision for the Foreign Ministry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time, and as you've assured us, we'll be doing this more often.
The first in the series.
Definitely. He is Professor David Francis, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and we've been talking about the ministry and his work and why the presidents travel and what are the achievements.